Teachers of Reddit, what is the best roast you ever told a student? My maths teacher in secondary school. Stuck my middle finger up at her. Only one finger for a woman my age. My 15-year-old self was mortified. You won that battle, Ms. Walcott. While explaining how reproduction works, one of my students was making gnarly comments, so I said, don't worry, you won't be getting any. My high school teacher put the sign up by the clock that said time will pass but will you? May not be a roast, but my high school teachers were very dry. I'm not a teacher, but this is a legendary one that I've heard. The kids are in a math class, and one kid just raises his hand and when am I ever going to use this in real life? The teacher says you won't, but the smart kids will. An English teacher, not me, was teaching the lay thing, and he did so by drawing up a table. The rows were the tenses, and the columns were icons for each action. There was someone laying down a sword, someone lying in bed, and someone telling a lie. Name is handsome. I'm not a teacher, but I remember when I was 13 we had a really laid back, jokey science teacher. When one of my mates asked if he could go to the toilet, my teacher let him, but just as he was about to get to the door the teacher shouted that he'd forgotten something. My mate turned around to see my teacher holding a magnifying glass and a pair of tweezers. My biology teacher was a bit of a dickhead, always making jokes about how boys were better than girls, making remarks about people's appearance etc. He also used to beat people with a 1 meter long ruler, but that's a story for another time. Anyway, we started the chapter about sexual reproduction, and at the end of the chapter we would do a graded dissection of either the male or female reproductive system of rabbits. My teacher was explaining how the female reproductive system worked before turning to one of my classmates and said, Q, better pay attention. This is the closest you'll ever come to seeing what a woman looks like under her clothes. I had a kid picking on the religious girl in class, asking her all sorts of tricky theological questions just so he could catch her out or something. When he asked, does hell exist, I said yes, it does. It's here, in the classroom, with you. Your parents married in vain. I got random breakouts and I was talking to my English teacher about how a big forehead pimple I had was finally going away, and I also had a cold sore on my lip, and so I told him all excited, look, it's going away, and he says yeah, and it fell down to your lip. Physical science class back in middle school. We had a super cool and chill teacher, and one of the students in the class was a really weird kid, but the teacher really liked him. Teacher also liked to pick on and tease his students. We got to boron on the periodic table and he said, boron. I had a really fun teacher everyone liked, and when students were talking about their various weekend exploits, he'd stare at them and then go, has anyone ever told you that you're an idiot? I'm not calling you one, but has anyone ever told you that? Not a teacher, but my friend was, and still is, annoying sometimes and looks for some laughs every now and then. We sit down on a bench during lunchtime and we see a teacher walk by. She calls over to the teacher, hey sir, gimme that bin. We have some trash. Apostrophe. He looks back at us and yells, why? Do you want me to put you in IT? Not a teacher, but when the class heard that my sister's teacher was getting married, the one bully in the class laughed pretty loudly. Our teacher immediately tore that pose a new one, saying that with his attitude he wouldn't ever find someone. I had a student who tried to get everyone to call him by his rapper name, what included the word moist. I refused. When trying to get others to do this, he asked me how it made me feel. Drier than the Sahara Desert. I never did call him that. I was joking around with a student one day, and he was making some insults about my name. In response, I asked him, do you know what I like about you? What he replied, I said nothing. He laughed about that. The next day, our guidance counselor pulled me aside with a worried expression. I got a call from student's mother. Did you tell student you like nothing about him? It turned out that the kid told his mother about that because he thought it was funny, but she was like, how dare a teacher say that to my child? And she called the school to complain. Fortunately, the administration believed my report of how it had happened. Not teacher but student. I discreetly told my middle school teacher that I had having bad nosebleeds that week and may need to get up randomly during the day. I was wearing a red, white and blue tie-dyed shirt and randomly during class, in front of everyone, he asked if I had an accident. I was about to start a lesson when a goofball kid from another class I also teach walked to the still open door. Sounds slightly better in Finnish, but whatever. Hey teach, my next lesson is boring. Can I come to this one instead? I'm sorry student name, but this is a 7th grade lesson. An 8th grader like you would be at an unfair advantage. Or how come can't still be on the 7th grade? I also wonder this every single day. Not being a virgin doesn't make you a grown up. Semicolon my teacher to me in 10th grade in front of the whole class. One day a kid from my health class brought a fidget spinner to play with. My health teacher took one look and told him, 2017 called and wants their toy back. Put it away. Apostrophe. The other day another teacher came into our class who has a bald head and he just got it waxed or something and my mate says fresh polish sir, and the teacher fires back with anything for your mother mate. Class went apeshit. I was rehearsing our university concert choir in a vocal fugue when the piece faltered. A tenor raised his hand and said, "It's my fault. I got a beat off." Apostrophe. I said nothing. Just looked. But the bass sitting next to him said, "Not even Handel could squeeze 5 quarters in a 4-beat measure." Link. I was substitute teaching last spring in a high school math class. Pretty easy gig. The students were just doing worksheets while I wrote bathroom passes and monitored behavior. One kid is trying to push my buttons by singing Mo Bamba by Sheck Wes. When he got to the line "I got hose," I interjected "No you don't." It effectively got him to stop singing. Nothing less cool than being roasted by the sub. When I was in 7th grade, a new kid who was mix, but looked black, would always chant about his pride that he was black or whatever. Whenever he would get in trouble with the teachers or another kid got pissed with him he would always reply with "It's cause I'm black." Right, people always were annoyed with him. One day during a music class, he was talking about Black Friday and how he would steal stuff and beat people to get pass, which was a lie. Teacher comes in and hears him say "I can't wait for Black Friday," and the teacher straight up replies with "Why? Cause you're black?" Class started dying of laughter and the black kid goes on his phone and shuts himself away from everyone. Still probably the best roast I have ever heard. After announcing the upcoming quiz for the umpteenth time, student, "Wait, what? You can't spring a test on us with 1 day notice." Me, "I've been announcing it daily for 2 weeks." Student, "I never heard it." Me, "It's okay. I only wake you up for the really important announcements." Class roared. I was teaching a programming course at a college and got tired of students asking if I could give them a practice exam prior to the midterm. One day I walked into class and wrote on the whiteboard, "Practice exam." It took a minute but someone pointed out that I had misspelled practice, so I turned and looked up at the whiteboard and then exclaimed, "You're right. There is no F in practice exam." Apostrophe. I work in a boarding house at a school and I have the year 12 wing. I don't work weekends. Some year 7s saw me on Monday and asked if I had missed them and I replied, "Who are you guys?" They are just young enough to wonder if I am being serious when I say things like that. In 8th grade, we had a mock constitutional convention and we were each assigned a real person to portray. The class clown was assigned Benjamin Franklin. When questioned on her decision, my teacher's response was, "I tried to think of who would be perfect for the role and no one came to mind. Then I thought of who would be the worst possible reincarnation of Ben Franklin, and here we are." I didn't intend it as a roast, but I got a long serious look and a pause when I told a student, "You're smart enough to be president, but with your manners, you're going to get fired from McDonald's instead." Apostrophe. There was a kid in my grade who was a douche, but really wanted to get into politics. His math teacher told him, "The only thing you'll ever be president of is the local fish and game club." Apostrophe.